Hello, everyone. My name is Saida Terrence. I'm the alumni coordinator for Bournesville Heights City School District. And this is March of 2022, pardon me. And it's also Women's History Month. And so for this month, for Tiger Talks, we have our alum, Miss Rhonda Smith-Ferguson. And she has done so much in her career. She's the executive vice president, I believe, of Allstate, your general counsel, and you're also secretary as well, I believe. And so for this month, we're just going to hear about her life after graduating from Bournesville, her life before graduating from Bournesville, and how it's also shaped her path and her journey thus far. So without further ado, here's Miss Rhonda Ferguson.
Thank you so much, Saida, and thank you for the invitation. I jumped at the opportunity as soon as you reached out to me because everything that I am is the direct result of my years, my formative years at Bournesville Heights. I am a product of that school system from K through 12. I actually participated in a pre-kindergarten program when I was 4 on the premises at Eastwood Elementary School. We had such caring and loving teachers. They were tough on us, but you knew at the end of the day that they really, really, really genuinely cared about our well-being and wanted us to be our best selves. And that was true from literally K through 12. I tell people about that all the time because I actually am, and I'm very relationship driven. So I've invited like some of my teachers, past teachers they came to our wedding, they came to my baby showers. They had such a tremendous impact on my life and so many other people's lives. So I can't stress enough the impact and how inspirational all of my teachers were. In addition, for the extracurricular activities that I participated in, same level of dedication and love and energy. And they really made you feel as though there was nothing you couldn't do. I also, I'm the oldest of 3 children, and my parents were very instrumental in that as well, because so it was reinforced at home that basically we can do anything that we put our mind to. Our parents stress faith and perseverance and education and giving back. I can tell you, since I am relationship driven, there's a group called the Old School Girls, and that is classmates of mine from Warrensville that we kept in touch, and we still get together and we have group meet chats. And we have a lot of fun when we get together. We used to get together around Thanksgiving and things of that nature. So it's just a wonderful feeling to always have that connection to Warrensville. After I graduated from Warrensville, I went to Northwestern, and I was really excited to go to Northwestern because it was in the 8th grade that I participated in the Midwest Talent Search. And the Midwest Talent Search essentially reaches out to you, a college reaches out to you and asks you to take the SAT exam while you're in the 8th grade. I'm sure I did horrible on it. I don't remember my score, but I was in the 8th grade. But it was the first time I got college mail. So I'm first generation college student. So my parents, it was from Northwestern, so we did research about it and we were excited. It was almost like a foregone conclusion that I would go to Northwestern. So I always excelled in math and science. I liked all of my subject areas, but I really had an affinity for math and science. And a lot of my Warrensville teachers had gotten us involved with career awareness program. It was called a CAP program. And it exposed us to a lot of different types of careers. And that's when I was first introduced to what we now call STEM. And I thought that was really interesting. And I applied to Northwestern. I got a scholarship, and we love Chicago. So went there. And similarly, I felt right at home because I joined a group called the National Society of Black Engineers. And it was actually comprised, it's a student-run organization. And there were a lot of people from all over the country, students who also were first-generation college students. Not all, but a large number of them. And we had an esprit de corps. We were thicker than thieves, and we did everything together. Similarly, I still keep in touch with that group. We have a group chat. We get together periodically and also keep in touch and help and support each other. So throughout Northwestern, I had that support. And it wasn't until my junior year, I had an internship after my freshman year of Northwestern at what used to be called East Ohio Gas Company, which is now Dominion Gas. And I tell people all the time, and I told this to my children as well. If you're applying for jobs, you have to apply to 100 to get one. So unless you told me you've actually applied to 100 jobs and did your research and was diligent about it, you haven't really done a complete and exhaustive search. So my parents helped me put together resumes, and we literally sent out 100. I got 99 rejections, but I got one offer, and that's all you need. All you need is one offer. And I got that from East Ohio Gas, and I worked 3 summers there. And my first direct supervisor was a gentleman named David Tabor, and he's my friend to this day. He and his wife are friends with me and my husband, and we vacation together. We do things as family members together, but he was my boss, and he was just maybe a few years older than me, but he was over the internship program. So I worked there in the summers, and I essentially drove a white conversion van with East Ohio Gas on the side. I had a metal detector, and I would read cards and go in people's tree lawns throughout Cuyahoga County and use a shovel and dig up test wire boxes and to test if we use a copper sulfate solution to see if there was corrosion in their pipes. That was my job for 2 summers until I was backing up the huge white conversion van, and there was a curved like tree lawn, but I went straight back and I hit a fire hydrant. And luckily it's a safety valve on that prevents it from like being some comedic, something out of a movie. But they determined that I probably should come inside for the next summer. So then I had an office job, and I learned how to present. We used something at that time called Harvard Graphics, which was the precursor to like PowerPoint presentations. So I learned all of that from, like I mentioned, David Tabor, who was my like first boss. So it taught me and I kept like the constant theme throughout my journey has been being around people who validate your unique talents. And we all have, every single person on the planet, we all have unique gifts and talents. And you want people who validate you, who support you, who love you. It's almost they call them sometimes now your personal board of directors, people who will tell you the truth, people will give you candid feedback. And I've always had groups of people from different areas, industries, backgrounds, some who've never worked in a corporate setting, who give me great advice because they know me and they care about me. So after I worked those 3 summers, East Ohio Gas gave me an opportunity to participate in a program that was sponsored by Harvard Business School that was Summer Venture into Management. And it was really maybe either a 1 or 2 week program. And I think they still have it because I know I recently was asked to do a couple of years back a reference for someone for the program. And it allowed you to kind of get a taste of business school. and the Socratic method with the Harvard Business School professors. And it was for minority students. So there were people from that program that I met that I still keep in contact with, that are friends of mine to date, even though we were there for 2 weeks. And I kind of love that process with the Socratic method, where the professors would ask you a lot of different questions and you had to kind of think on your feet and process information in real time. And they said, well, if you like that in business school in the case study context, you probably really like law school. So I took a course at Northwestern called Engineering and Law when my junior year, and just really fell in love with, I didn't want to be a patent lawyer, but just the intersection of being creative, being a problem solver, and translating that the same way that engineers are creative problem solvers, so are lawyers. Graduated from Northwestern and went straight to law school. A Cleveland baby through and through, so I was ecstatic to go to Case Western Reserve Law School. My first year, I was assigned to a mentor through the visiting school program that they had there, a gentleman named Owen Heggs, who passed away years ago, but he was a partner at a very large law firm. And that was my first really foray into learning about the practice of law at a large law firm, and having all of your clients be major corporations. And he was African-American, and he introduced me to his family. And then he had me bring my siblings over to his place for a cookout. He was just an awesome guy and became a mentor of mine as well. And he told me that, after you get your first year grades, give me a call, and I'm going to try and get you a job here at Jones Day. No guarantees. So I did well my first year of law school, and I sent him my resume, and I interviewed with a number of law firms, and I worked at his firm, and I split my summer at another firm, another large law firm, Thompson High. And that was a really good experience. And I still keep in touch with people that I've met through that experience. At the end of my law school career, I accepted a full-time position at Thompson High. And initially I was assigned to the construction law group. And the managing partner of Thompson High at the time was a gentleman named Don Mischief, and I still keep in touch with him. He actually is a Cavs aficionado, and we had Cavs seats near each other. So I would see his wife Sally at the games, and that was also a lot of fun very recently. So it's just a constant theme of just having such great mentors and people that help me, and then people that I in turn could pay it forward and do the same thing for others that have helped me. And I worked at Thompson High doing construction litigation, and it was an exciting time because that was like 1994. And we were building in the city of Cleveland the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the new Cleveland Browns Stadium, the new field where now the Cleveland Guardians play. And I had a chance to work on all of the disputes that arose once they started building it. And you will find that there's a lot of disputes that typically arise when there are a lot of passionate people involved in major projects. So I worked on that, and that gave me a wonderful background into learning all that I could about construction law and litigation. I was doing that for about 3 years. And then one of the summer associates had left the firm and gone to another firm called Baker Hostetler. And this is around the time of when it was really sexy to be in .com. That's what they called it, .com. And she said, there's an opening in intellectual property law over here, and I think you'd be perfect with your engineering background. And I think you would be great. So I talked to the people at Baker and Hostetler, and I moved over to that firm, and I did initially intellectual property law, and I represented um, the comic strip for Dilbert and the Peanuts through United Feature Syndicate, and that was a lot of fun. The Care Bears, anything that dealt with copyright infringement. So it was really kind of opening up, if you will, the aperture of all of the different things that people sue over when someone infringes your copyright. And then from there, I just really expanded my practice because I would always raise my hand and say, if anybody needs any help, I'd love to learn some other areas. Even though I was doing intellectual property litigation, I wanted to learn more about all different types of litigation. So I got opportunity to work on like class action defense work, white collar criminal defense work, which was actually fascinating to me because you had a lot of people who had never done anything, like didn't even have parking tickets, and then they had a lapse of judgment and they did something really outside of their character and was looking at, jail time. Did every from soup to nuts, litigated on behalf of some of the largest corporations in the world. Became a partner at Baker and Hostetler. I think it was like, I think I may have been like 33. The first year that I was up, I didn't make it. And I always like to talk about that because whenever I speak, people always like focus on all of their successes. Like I've had lots of failures, like too many to name. Like we'd have to set up an entire different meeting for that. But I stuck with it, and because I was upset, but I had mentors sit down and say, "Hey, you have what it takes. These are the areas that we need to see development in, and you'll be up again next year. Go for it." And I was elected to the partnership, and I was excited. And then when you're elected to the partnership, you're required to also be a rainmaker. You got to bring in clients. That's what you need to do. And I remember a boutique exclusive search firm that was based in Chicago contacted me and for a in-house assistant general counsel position, reporting to the general counsel at a company called Farrell Corporation, which was based in Cleveland, still based in Cleveland. It's an international chemical manufacturing company and technology company that transacted business in over 100 countries. So I was thinking, I'm a brand new partner. And I talked to the managing partner at Baker, and I said, I am going to accept this invitation to go and meet the top brass over at this company, not because I want to join this company, but because I want to convince them to give us their legal work. And he said, that sounds like a good plan. So I go and I talk to the people at this company. Now, mind you, at this point, I've been practicing law now for 10 years at a large law firm, 3 years at Thompson Hine and another 7 years or so at Baker. And I really enjoyed the general counsel, and I enjoyed all of the executive team members that I met. And I remember thinking, this is something that I think I really would like to pursue. The most important thing that I left out was going to Western Reserve Law School was the smartest decision I made in my life, because I met my husband on campus there. He was in the engineering school working on his master's degree. And this is before, like, I shouldn't joke about it, but I used to joke about it and say it was before Ohio had stalking laws on the books, because he used to hang around the law library. Why is he hanging around the law library? But he is absolutely my best friend on the planet. And we met there, and that was just the most wonderful thing. And we actually got married on campus. And a lot of friends from Northwestern and Case Western Reserve, where he went also undergrad, were in our weddings. So it was just a wonderful match. So I talked to him about the opportunity, and we agreed. I was like, it sounds phenomenal. So that's when I switched from law firm partner to in-house attorney. And I had such a great mentor in the general counsel. I've had so many great mentors, some who looked like me, some who didn't look like me. And I learned so much because he taught me how to be a in-house lawyer, told me everything I needed to know. And we were a mighty team. It was a small, lean team, but we handled so many different issues all across the world. Did that for 3 years. And it was at that point where I really learned firsthand how important a strong ethical culture is. Tone at the top, tone in the middle, tone throughout the company, because we had a controller who didn't have any parking tickets or anything, who fudged some numbers. And particularly when you're a publicly traded company, you can't do that. So we were investigated by the SEC, the Department of Justice, FBI, so the trifecta. He actually, and this is all public information, he spent some time, he lost his license, his CPA license. And it was really sad because he was such a super nice guy. But the leadership at the time, not now, it's all completely new leadership, used to lead with intimidation and fear, and people were afraid to give bad news. So at some point, a valve would break, because you can't have an environment, a toxic environment, where people aren't comfortable sharing information. So I learned that firsthand. And then I thought about how devastating that was, because once we had to go through that public nightmare, you think about how the stock price went from $30 or so per share down to almost $1 per share. And we were threatened to be delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. So think about people who had invested money in their 401ks. And it was just a really sad and tragic state of affairs. And then I was speaking about that publicly on a panel. And at the end of the panel, the gentleman comes up to me, and unbeknownst to me at the time, he was thinking about retirement. His name was David Whitehead, and he was the Vice President, Corporate Secretary, and Chief Ethics Officer of First Energy. And he asked me, did I know the General Counsel of First Energy? I said I had heard of her, but I had never met her. He said, I just think she'd be a good person for you to meet. And we met for lunch, and it was a great lunch. And, I shared things that I probably would not have shared if I thought that I was, quote, interviewing for a job. And then we met again, just the two of us, for lunch again. And then the third time we had dinner, and she said, well, I know David has told you that he's retiring. I was like, he didn't tell me, but I just kind of played along with it. And she said, and we think you would be a great candidate for this role. So talked to my husband again about it. And I said, well, this sounds like a nice change. So at the time when I was at Faro, I was managing a paralegal and another assistant. So after I'd gone through the process and they were ready to give me an offer, I asked, how large is my team? And they were like 100 people. So I was thinking, oh, I'm going from 0 to 100, literally. So I really had to rely on mentors and friends and everybody, because it's a huge jump to go from individual contributor at a corporation where you are essentially in charge of yourself and your output and managing your own resources, to leading a team, leading and influencing a team. It's like 20 feet from stardom, like between being a strong background singer, to being really in the front of the stage. So I learned at First Energy really how to be a leader, how to help others unlock their gifts. Remember, everybody has unique gifts and talents. And that was really rewarding, very challenging too, but rewarding. So I was there almost 9 years, and I continued to get additional responsibilities. And I had a number of recruitment firms calling me for different jobs, but they were always out of town. And I'm a Cleveland baby. My husband grew up in Cleveland, so we would always say, no, no, thank you. And then I had a friend call me and said, people are going to stop calling you for general counsel jobs because they don't think you're serious. I said, why would they think I'm not serious? They said, you keep turning down jobs. I said, like, well, they're all out of town. Like, it's like sometimes you have to go where the job is and make it work. So fast forward to 2016, daughter is a freshman in college, and I have a son that's in high school, and he's thriving in high school. And I said, I don't want to be cut out the list. So what do I need to do? She was like, you're already on the bad list. So this is the advice I want to give you. I want you to send a note to this particular recruiter that she worked with and say that I'm really interested in a general counsel position. I'm open to it now that my children are older, and I'm interested in out of town opportunities. And I'm like, and my husband and I talked about it. It's like, we'll be ready. If this is the right opportunity, ready to jump on it. And then the first call I get was from this person, and it was in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? And talked to a number of my mentors and my family members, my parents, my husband, of course, my children, everybody. I had an important vote with me. And I didn't want to rip my son's heart and soul out with him being in high school. So my husband said, I will stay here. And he had a job that he loved at Eaton and had been there a number of years since he graduated from Case Grad School. We said, we're going to commute and make this work. And it was one of the smartest decisions I made. I love that job. It was the best role I've ever had until Allstate came knocking. And then once I got that job, it's like it opened the floodgates everywhere. So, I'm still friends with, tons of teammates and the board of directors there. We still talk, the CEO. I just this past weekend went on a girls' spa trip with my sister went, and then former colleagues from Union Pacific Railroad, where I was the chief legal officer there. And then during the pandemic, while we're all hunkered down and we divided our home up into quadrants, and our son was back from college, our daughter was back from college, hubby's working remotely, I'm working remotely, and we're in crisis management mode. This is probably first quarter of 2020 when the pandemic was really first started. We didn't know what was really happening. So I was on daily crisis management calls with the team, and I got a call from a recruiter who said, I'm not on this search, but I think you'd be perfect for this role. And she said, it was Allstate. I said, I don't know anything about insurance. She said, I think you would be perfect for this role. She said, you are, a leader. You have a steep learning curve. You have demonstrated that you can change industries. You were in chemical manufacturing. You were in energy. You were in logistics. I think you can at least entertain it. So since we were all at home, I talked to my husband and my kids, and they said, yeah, I think you should go for it. And they were like, it's in Chicago. Not that there's anything wrong with Omaha, Nebraska. I come to love it. It's a lovely town, just like how people make jokes about Cleveland. Until you've been there, you don't know. So I had a bunch of Zoom interviews, and they made me an offer, and it has been just a perfect fit for me at the perfect time. And it was also around the time that our son is now a junior in college. Our daughter graduated in 2020, and she's doing her thing. And we started thinking about, okay, now it's an empty nest situation. What we're going to do now? So my husband said, I know what we're not going to do. We're not going to commute anymore because we don't have to. So he got a wonderful opportunity in Chicago as well. We sold our home in Northeast Ohio, and we are downtown condo livers. in Chicago for now and just enjoying it. So I want to pause there. So that's where I am today and loving my gig.
Well, thank you for sharing all that with us. I really enjoyed hearing your story. It was really nice. Had interesting twists and turns, and you're at a good place right now, which is what I enjoy the most. I had a couple of questions prepared for you, just in regard to life as a Warrensville Tiger and life even afterwards. One question I'm going to start with is, what is your fondest Warrensville Heights memory?
Ooh, that's hard because there's so many. Um, I think being a Warrensville Heights high stepper. I mean, when I put on those white boots with the blue and gold tassels, you couldn't tell me anything. And I just love that. Um, I love the energy of the games. I love the pride that the Tigers have, the Tigers pride. Um, that would be one of the highlights. Um, I also had mentioned before that just the incredible supportive environment that the teachers provided. I can't speak enough about that. We would have fun. We were, and we had a nice collective crew where we were we could be studious when we needed to be, but boy, we could also act silly, have fun. And it was just, I just loved my entire Bournesville experience. And any opportunity I have to come back and talk to students, I love to do that. I also, I didn't realize this until very recently. I thought Warrensville Heights was the only high school to have a planetarium. So I would brag about that to everybody. We had a planetarium in our high school, go in there, and it was just awesome. And I said, we would try not to fall asleep, but about midway through, it's really calming and you're looking at the constellations. But it wasn't until I was with my kids, one of my son's basketball games, away games, and I want to say we were at Euclid or Perry, and they had a planetarium. And it shattered my world because I'd been bragging about how we had a planetarium. So that's also a fond moment. We love music. We love to dance and encourage each other, and we still do that. The old school girls. I just saw a flash from Andrea Mitchell. That I forgot that my dance name was Lady Skill. I don't know how many skills I have left, but that was my name. But it's too many. It's too many to name. Too many to name. Great question.
I think that's absolutely wonderful, like especially because the final war is coming up. So also my job, I kind of gave it to myself, but I'm trying to build and maintain an archive. Well, an archive in a library, however you want to like view it, but of Warrensville Heights information and memories. Like the other day, I found a bunch of extra yearbooks, all miscellaneous from 1983 to 2018. So I thought that was cool, but I think it's important to hear stories from our alumni in terms of how they're doing and how they view their home school district. And I think that's absolutely great that you hold Warrensville in this specific part of your heart. And I really
My
appreciate
highest
hearing
esteem.
that now that I work here. Okay.
Yeah, another fond memory, I told you it's too many to name, is
Oh, please go on.
I participated in the on television, a local television. We had the academic challenge program where you compete against other schools, and I was one of our teammates. And our English teacher, our 10th grade English teacher, was like our captain, and we did absolutely horrible. I mean, I think we were, I mean, horrible. It was pretty embarrassing, but I love that experience. It was, trivia it's something that I enjoy, but I don't know, the bright lights, we blanked out on a couple of things that we should have gotten right, but it's also a fun memory.
That's so cool. That's funny. I found an old photo of an academic challenge team from, I believe it was the early 80s or the late 70s. So it's really cool. Another question I have is, you mentioned you've seen some pretty absurd things, some pretty odd cases that you've worked over the years. What's one of the most absurd cases that you worked where you just thought, huh, this is odd, or oh, that's a strange situation?
I would say that probably the oddest things were when I first started at the railroad. Um, Someone told me, Rhonda, anything that you can imagine happening anywhere in the world, the most oddest thing, it has happened on a train. So I would just leave it at that. Let your wildest imaginations go, but anything that you could possibly think of, it has happened on a train. The train goes across the transatlantic 24/7 and has to deliver really critical goods, pharmaceutical goods, everything that's in your room right now at some point sat on a rail car, including your purse, pillows, you name it. And I'll just leave it at that. Some of the most bizarre things I ever heard have occurred on a train.
Um, and my last question, because I want to give our audience members a chance to ask any questions they may have. Um, what is a career success or win that you are most proud of? I know there are probably so many, but what's one that really is like, yeah, like I remember this happened and I'm so proud of it?
For me, it's when someone that was on my team um, gets promoted or gets another job even outside of our organization that is a step up from where they were. And I don't know, I just have so much pride in knowing that I met this person and we worked on things together and we were in the trenches. And, I learned from this person learned from me. And I think that's the greatest joy of being a manager of people, is helping other people unlock their gifts like people have helped you unlock yours.
Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I really appreciate it. For our audience members, do you have any questions just about Rhonda, her experience, or life as a tiger? You can unmute yourselves to ask also.
Rhonda, my name is Linda Given. My maiden name was Kurzik, and I graduated in 1973, so I'm a little bit older than you are. But I saw the announcement for tonight's session, and I wanted to meet you. I'm a retired lawyer, also here in Chicago. I ended up being a partner at the law firm of Chapman and Cutler, and I know that the firm over the years has done a lot of work with Allstate. So I was so intrigued to hear your story, loved every second of it. You are an absolute inspiration. So from one tiger to another who also became a lawyer at a time when not so easy for women to come up through that whole industry. Congratulations to everything you've accomplished. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And now I've got to run. So thank you all for organizing this. This has been great.
Yes, thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for coming. All right. Well, I just have one more question in regard to your career. From what I've learned from your story, it's a very interesting, it's a very creative, and I could imagine it's also at times a very intense job. How do you manage the stress or even at times the pressure of it all?
I I mentioned first that I kind of lean on my faith, and at the end of the day, I don't take myself or my job too seriously. The most important things to me, um, again, is my faith and my family. Those are my highest priorities. And then you always have to take care of your health, your mental, physical, and spiritual health. Um, then you have to nurture your support network. And that was all of the people that I talked about who different groups and people that you can laugh with, people who can uplift you, people that you can uplift. Because I would always say I can find another job, but I got to take care of my health and my family. So that's what I need to devote the majority of my energy to. And I'm most proud of being a wife and mother. Me, where I work is what I do is not who I am.
Thank you. Overall, I really enjoyed hearing your story. I found it incredibly inspirational and insightful. And I'm so proud to know that we're from the same school district and we're both Tigers.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, so I'm very glad to hear like how well you've done and how well your family has done and continues to do. It's really heartwarming to know that we come from the same place. And people like you are what make the school district and what make Warrensville what it is. And people are really proud of you. And that's the whole point of Tiger Talks is to share alumni stories with the community, with students, and with other alumni. So thank you so much for coming here this evening, for sharing. And if you have anything else you'd like to share, please don't hesitate.
It was absolutely my pleasure. Anything from Bournesville, you need me to address the students, I love to do that. That's what I absolutely, absolutely love to do. So don't hesitate to reach out for any other programming for me. So thank you.
Thank you. This is going to be the end of this month's Tiger Talk. Please tune in next April, and we look forward to hearing from you. All right. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye. You
Bye.
too. Bye-bye.